to a session on advertising and society. We have discussed already how media economics depends on advertising. Today, the objective of this lecture is how advertising is defined, the influence of advertising on society, advertising for development, gender, advertising, and stereotypes. Therefore, we look at advertising from the point of view of how it relates to media and society. First of all, we begin with the American Marketing Association definition. And what does it say? Advertising is the placement of announcements and messages in time or space by business firms, non-profit organizations, government agencies, and individuals who seek to inform or persuade members of a particular target audience regarding their products, services, organizations, or ideas. Therefore, advertising has the key word that it is placements of announcements and messages, and it is directed to a targeted audience. This placement of announcements and messages 90% of the times happens through media. Hence, advertising represents a massive investment in directing the shape of media discourse and has an institutional advantages, and their influence can be isolated and measured in specific instances. The consequences of advertisers financing media obviously has its good and bad. The non-economic significance is that the higher the dependence on advertising as a source of revenue, the less independent is the content of that media. For example, if a newspaper has to depend more on advertisement, chances are that the advertisers are going to dictate the nature of the content in that media. But on the financial side, the content, if the advertisers are funding the content and the advertisers are motivated to provide good content, then the quality of content can also go up. In the extreme case that the media totally finance or sponsored by advertising, the ostensible content is hard, if not impossible, to distinguish from advertising itself, propaganda, or public relations. This is particularly in case for native advertising intended to promote the advertiser's product or brand. On the other hand, it is obvious that the structure of much of the mass media industry is in most capitalist countries reflects the interests of advertisers. Therefore, it is no accident that media markets often coincide with the consumer divisions. That means that media markets might have parallels in the markets of the other products which are also based on consumer divisions. For example, a particular kind of a soap is only sold in a market where a little magazine or a gents magazine works rather than any other media. So, consumer divisions are similar for a media market also, for a product market also, depending upon the target market, depending on the advertiser. Most free markets are finely tuned to jointly maximize the needs of the advertisers and their own interests as a condition of normal operation. The normal influence extends to the matching of media content patterns according to the consumption pattern of targeted audience, as we were talking about. Media content design and layouts and planning, scheduling not only reflect the advertiser's interest, it also reflects the interests of the consumers that they are targeted upon. Therefore, we look at how advertising affects society, because advertising content becomes an integral part of media. It is said that advertising is an efficient source of information because you come to know about the existence of a product of a soap which does not have perhaps a particular chemical. And if your skin is affected by that chemical, you would prefer a herbal soap or a soap without that particular chemical. Advertising publicizes the material and cultural incentives of a democratic, free enterprise society. Advertising gives incentive to your cultural output in the sense that in the media, when you look at films, when you look at OTT platforms, when you look at videos, it is supported by advertising. Therefore, if we are looking at a movie and there we find a Samsung phone or a Starbucks cafe, we know that it has been given by the advertiser, and therefore that particular content has been to a certain extent shaped by the advertiser, and it also reflects the cultural nuances of the audience that it has been made for. Advertising enables both print and broadcast media to maintain independence from governmental, political parties, and other special interest groups. Yes, advertising contributes to the independence of the media by giving the funding that is required to have to function freely. All the media that you see has advertisements, and these advertisements prevent the media from submitting them to government or political control because they can sustain themselves. So, before we get into the nuances of the advertising and society, a quick recap of what we did right now and what best way to do it but through a quiz. Tell me, with which statement do you agree? Do you agree that higher advertising in a media equates to less independence of content? Do you agree that low advertising in a medium means greater audience loyalty? Do you agree advertising in a media is unacceptable? Well, your answer should be higher advertising in media equates to less independence of contents. As we go forward, we look into the social effects of advertising. Advertising affects us through persuasion. How does it do that? When you look into a Complan advertisement, a Boost advertisement, or a Bonvita advertisement, any health drink advertisement, they ask you to drink it for the best of your health, explaining to you the ingredients, the contents, and therefore they are using persuasion for you to believe in it by truthfulness or untruthfulness. The truthfulness can be advertising promises that particular brand of hair oil is not sticky. The untruthfulness might be that particular brand of hair oil gives you long hair, yet there is no parameter to prove whether it really helps you to get a long hair. Tastefulness or untastefulness. You might not like the advertisement of a deodorant which exposes a bare body. But if you do not like that, it might not hurt the sentiment of someone else who does not mind looking at a bare body. So the parameter of what is tasteful and what is not tasteful differs from audience to audience. By its cultural impact on values and lifestyle, advertising has made chocolates enter our life as sweets. Who we all remember, Shubh Arambh Ho Jaye. This particular line told us that you could have chocolates if instead of our traditional sweetmeats for anything that is auspicious in our life. Hence, advertising impacts our cultural values. When we look at a Titan Raga advertisement which shows a mother with a child doing the traditional fera or the traditional 7 rounds by the fire, we look at a mother who has a child and she is marrying at that stage or at different. Our cultural values are pushed. We are asked to accept certain new things. Any women or gender advertisements where it shows the woman in a new fashion are pushing our cultural lifestyles and values. Economic effects of advertising. Advertising encourages economic growth. The moment there is more expenditure, there is more buying happening. The moment there is more buying happening, the industries get a boost and therefore there is economic growth. Advertising helps maintain competition. If you know the famous Coke and Pepsi wars, through that the advertisers promise the market, the consumers that there are choices and they are giving a choices at regulated prices or at prices which are fair. Therefore, the more there are advertisers, the more there are chances that the competition would be healthy. Similarly, at the same rate, advertisers help to maintain prices. Advertising helps in spreading information and therefore reducing the cost of goods also. Advertisers reduces distribution costs. When an advertiser goes out and tells that these commodities, these products, these brands are available in different markets, chances are the consumer is going to access those products or brands in those markets and therefore reduce the cost of distribution for a wider market. Advertising for development has played a tremendous role. We all know that the polio advertisements in our country have played a major role in changing the behavior pattern of the people, and therefore today polio has been eradicated from our country. Every child has to take a polio medicine, and the advertising of polio medicines have played a crucial role in that. There is also the cause-related advertisements. You often see brands saying that they support climate change initiatives, that they are against climate change, that they support initiatives that stop climate change. These are corporate commitments to cause-related advertisements, and the advertisers align themselves to these causes, therefore showing that they also understand the problems that face society. There is also social advertisement, which is a process that applies marketing principles and techniques to communicate, and deliver value in order to influence the target market to change their behavior. For a perfect example would be when Dettol stamps its name on the rotis that were made in Kumbh Mela and tries to influence the receiver to change their habits by washing their hands. So if I am asking through advertisements to wash your hands, to put on a mask, or to use public lavatories, then it's a social marketing, and advertising and advertisers played a major role in this. So, quiz 2. What is cause-related advertising? Is it when government advertises about the benefit of masks? Is it a brand picks up an issue like conservation of forests? Is it an individual firms supporting a cause? Hope you have the answer. The right one would be a brand picks up an issue like conservation of forests. Because in cause-related marketing, it is the alignment of a brand with a social issue. There are other forms of advertising which have borne the flag, and this form of advertising, however, also spreads the words of the brands. For example, surrogate advertising. It is a type of advertising in which brand promotes a brand product in disguise. That said, it is an advertising practice in which a brand indirectly advertises a product by advertising another product of the same brand. Often you would see that this brand product is not shown in the ad, but maybe a music, a CD, or a water of the same name is shown. In India, alcohol and tobacco products cannot be advertised openly. Laws like the cigarette and other tobacco products ad have put a barrier on using ads for them, and therefore they resort to surrogate advertising. Now that we have talked about how advertising contributes to the media, we have talked about how advertising positively affects the society. Let us look also at how advertising negatively affects society. A common criticism of advertising is that it manipulates consumers into buying things they do not need. It is often said that if there is something that you never wanted, advertising has created that want in you, and therefore you have gone for it. This is typical for children, for children, because when they are showed multiple times that this candy is delicious, they want their parents to buy that candy for them. The view that advertising gives information has been criticized from the point that this information is persuasive, and therefore it plays on consumers' emotions, anxieties, and psychological needs, and therefore it is unacceptable. Persuasive advertising is criticizing for fostering discontent among consumers and encouraging them to purchase products and services to solve deeper problems. That means the lipstick a girl buys, the coke that a person buys can often be termed as buying just because the advertisements have they have been exposed to repeatedly by those advertisements, and therefore the want has been created in them, though there is no actual need for it. The another criticism has been advertising encourages materialism. That means we actually do not need so many things in our lives, but advertising keeps on showing us products and therefore persuades us to believe that those products are important in our lives. In a materialistic society, many critics attributes this to advertising because it seeks to create needs rather than merely showing how a product or service fulfills them. The advertising surrounds consumers with images of the good life and suggests the acquisition of material possession leads to contentment. Advertising for products such as expensive cars and luxury goods such as clothing, jewelry, and premium alcoholic beverages is often criticized for promoting materialistic values. Advertising is often criticized for gender stereotyping, for not showing minorities. Advertising has been guilty of showing women from the view of patriarchy. Therefore, they are not given a position in the advertisement, a position where they are in a dominant position. They are shown in demure ways. They are often shown as objects. They are often as used as baits to excite the audience. So, therefore, advertising is often criticized because they promote gender stereotypes, and there has been studies which show that they are guilty of such efforts, and worldwide there is now an effort to bring in more parity in whatever depiction that is happening in these advertisements, whether it be gender, whether it be ethnic. Because the diversity, the advertisers are asked to improve the diversity of the people in their communications by increasing the incidence of minority groups in ads while avoiding the stereotypes and negative role portrayals. They also strive to develop advertising that has specific appeal to various ethnic groups, in addition to the wider community. Increase in the size of purchasing power of ethnic minorities are leading companies to pay more attention to multicultural advertising. Now, when we look at advertising from the spectacles of gender, we often look at it from the spectacles of women, but there are children also, and advertising has been said to influence children negatively. Often advertisements show stunts, and these stunts affect them badly, and therefore they indulge in those stunts and accidents happen. Not only that, food advertisements to children have been such that they have been addicted to such food, and which has led to obesity, especially in the Western world. Now, when we look at advertisements, we see therefore that these negative effects compiled with the dominance that it gets in media often creates a negative impression amongst the audience, and therefore people look at a demeaning way to advertisements and the advertising profession. Now, therefore, when we look at the effects of advertising on media and society, we must remember advertising is hugely responsible for the independence of media, hugely responsible for the diversity in media, hugely responsible for the cultural output that media shows. On the other hand, there are the negative aspects which we have to balance. So, a final quiz on advertising. Your opinion, please. Many critics say advertising should provide information useful in making purchase decisions and should not persuade. They should just give information. Do you agree that they should be just informational but not use persuasional method? Your answer has to be a balance of both the good sides of advertising and the negative sides of advertising, a balance of both. Because we cannot throw away persuasion from advertising looking at the positive effects that it engenders. Thank you.